Really going to enjoy watching the back of this car for the next 20 minutes.
We're nearly in.
And we aren't
Bossy,
nearly in.
we know what they are.
The bossy, yes. Oh, there's a bossy. Live and learn. We know what a bossy is because we watch numerous YouTube videos. And for those that don't know, a bossy is a small structure.
Could be big, could be big.
Could be a slightly bigger. It's not a mansion. It's just a small structure that has got bare necessities like a fireplace and maybe a table and chairs, maybe a built-in like seating area, as in like just planks of wood type in a window.
No power.
No power, no water, but they're there for people to freely stay in if they are hiking or whatever overnight. And you leave them as you find them, clean and tidy. You take your own firewood, your own water, your own food. Obviously no toilets. Sometimes there's an upstairs that's got like a platform so you can put your bedroll down there.
Where the ghost lives.
And they're usually in very out of the way places. Yeah, that's our first ever spotting of a bossy, and they had two. There you go. Right, have we filmed enough of this car now?
Yeah.
Because it's getting boring.
Boring.
Okay. And by the way, we're on our way to the Cosford Air Show. After
Slowly.
very slowly. After a very eventful night at the Horton Hall, where a gentleman decided, oh, is that, no, yes it is, no it's not, no, not in that one mate, follow the others.
Well, he's going in there.
Who's going in there? He does, right. And in here we go. So we're now going to park up the car and then walk down to the show, so I'm not filming that, so off we go. Looking forward to the air show. We could spend an absolute fortune here. There is so much stuff that we went, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that, because we just cannot get it back in Australia. So let me just pause that a sec. What, with my what?
Peach hat.
It's a baseball cap, love. I doubt it. Wouldn't have made it over here, would it, you Wally? I'm getting concerned how we're going to carry this around Europe, mind. No, the mini's over there.
which I guess, especially in engineering, is a really key part of it.
So you've now got this apprenticeship with BAE. Tell me what you're doing and what it's like.
At the moment, I work on the next generation combat air flight demonstrator, which is really exciting to be 19 working on such an important project, especially with like really interested and knowledgeable people of all different ages. I really like the things I do in my day-to-day work really do feel like they matter. I feel like I have a real footprint and an impact. I'm also like really keen on outreach opportunities, and I use the fact that I'm an apprentice to go to STEM events and to give younger people insight into what I do and how like engineering shapes the world and how we do it at BAE.
And I guess it's also important for the young.
These are chipmunks. I knew that.
Somebody just dropped a bench.
Oh, we don't want, wouldn't you? We'll have to sew them on before he gets his jacket.
Take it in, say how much to sew these on. $10 a bag or something. Why are you doing that?
I'm doing my best.
Oh, there you are.
Look for the bag.
You need to get your orange hat.
Where is it? Where is it?
Jaguar.
That's the jacket.
Oh, Jaguar.
Oh, boring. Right. Okie dokie.
No, it's 1,000.
Okay, you can take picture of you standing.
2000.
Yeah?
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait.
sorry?
That's right. It's above you.
Anyway, can't you? You want to be next to the fence.
I'm trying to get that helicopter that's just sat there. Look. Well, we need to go around that way.
Planning about the timing, about the smoke timing, making sure everyone's got the right smoke on, and making sure it's perfect as you'd expect. So I and then hopefully the sky and blue sky cloud and the clouds line up and all in show cascade and the maneuver that happened since the 1990s. It takes a lot of really great cooperation with the aviation authority and the regulators to ensure that we can depart the arena over the ground and cover it so we can get to the whole this year and then it's well allowed and then get it with the psychologically for the display, and the adrenaline will be flowing as they want to put on a great show for you today. The team has been training all over the world recently, as far as even Dubai. There's even a few Falcons who are on overseas exercises at the moment in Slovenia. So just a little bit of information for you on some of the aircraft. We normally use a Skyvan, a Dornier DO228. We even use a Chinook sometimes, which we're hoping to do in Odeon this year. And during this season, the team aims to complete approximately 50 display descents from various heights and locations around the UK and Europe. In preparation for display season, the team have spent 2.5 months during the off-season period training and practicing their parachuting skills in the fair weather climate of Southern California and Dubai. They have also used the vertical wind tunnels in the UK where free-fall skills have been perfected in a simulated environment and by cost-effective means. Each team member can expect to complete around 350 jumps per year, which includes training and displays. The team are very well supported by two of the RAF's finest survival equipment technicians.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. Time to get ready to experience the aerial skills of one of the world's greatest military parachute display teams. Get your cameras ready, because it's time to introduce As you can see, the A400 approaches, so keep your cameras and your eyes to the skies and stand by, because they're about to jump. We want to put on a spectacle for you today, so I hope you're prepared with your cameras, and don't forget to tag the RAF Falcons on social media. Send us any photos and videos. And there we go! The 2026 Royal Air Force Falcons display team! The red smoke trailing from their legs is created by small canisters attached to their boots, which were activated at the very last moment before jumping from the aircraft. We can see all 6 canopies are safely deployed as the team immediately begin maneuvering into the snake formation. For 2026, the team have been working on a dynamic routine over the winter months, and hope you enjoyed the visual spectacle as much as the Falcons enjoy flying it. They built the snake formation by turning 180 degrees back over the jump direction. As you can see, they're very close to each other, guys, which takes a lot of concentration and maneuverability skill. They practice and practice and practice to put on these displays for you today. So we hope that you enjoy it. Look at them go! As they're approaching the drop zone, make sure that you're cheering for them, because they can hear you, believe it or not, through our communications. They're following us in a saber chase now. So this is a quite tight formation, and as they come closer to the ground, they'll split into something called ducks, which is 2 different saber chases, which will go left and right onto the green and orange left and right indicators, like I said before. As they come closer to the ground, they can hear you, so again, please give it up a big cheer. As they come into the drop zone, the first is Flight Sergeant Mark Clayton, Sergeant Marcus Shields, Sergeant Jed Evans, Sergeant Luke Pease, Sergeant Matt Hyam, who Jeffrey the Giraffe is flying in with today, and last but not least, Sergeant Rich Peregrine. And here we go, it's coming in! Get your cameras pointed to the sky to get those pictures coming! Once again, please, everybody give a round of applause and a massive cheer for the superb display of the 2026 Royal Air Force Falcons Parachute Display Team! Contact us. We'd love to see your photos and videos of the team today, and hope you share them with us on Instagram at RAF Falcons and the same on Facebook. Thank you very much. Well, ladies and then on each wing what we call a roll post, which is basically another little jet out.
It's a Vulcan cloud.
Think about that, you've got 4 pillars.
There's
4 pillars are there, which means
front
F-35
down to the
is
back.
common.
There you go.
And this aircraft can really hold inaugural deployment with the new carrier strike group, and that led on to debut operations by the UK F-35Bs over Iraq and Syria. So, in frontal air, for its first pilots, for Lockheed Martin F-35B like this.
These are the ones that we see in the mains. They do go.
And it was around the time of this air show last year that it was announced that Britain is going to buy 12 of the CTOL conventional takeoff and landing F-35A models, the same sort of Lightning as is used by the US Air Force's 48th Fighter Wing at RAF Lakenheath in Suffolk, specifically with the nuclear strike role in mind. Iceland doesn't have fighter aircraft of its own able to defend its airspace. This is very much now a NATO task, and the F-35Bs have played their part. So now if you do look again to your left-hand side, the aircraft slowing down. I'm expecting that big door on the back of the aircraft to be opening, bringing the lift fan into operation, and amazing F-35B moves in. And here indeed we have an American 2C and the Super Firefly of the Battle Memorial Flight.
Come on.
Joe, you're missing a split part here, Joe. Joe.
more power. We've taken the Lycoming engine to its limits, really. So Richard still wanted more power. The only option was to bolt on 2 Lynx jet engines, giving combined another 700 pounds of thrust. So this aircraft has more thrust than weight. So it can climb forever, and it also has the capability of hovering. Another hovering aircraft today, but I think substantially less extensive than the previous.
And we see that incredible power-to-weight ratio demonstrated throughout this display. Before we get to the next burst of jet noise, Colin, what sort of engine controls does he have in the cockpit, given the 2 different types of power plants?
Yes, it's a hybrid aircraft indeed, so he has the main usual throttle, and at the end of the throttle, 2 electronically controlled jet engines.
Now this is a beautiful manoeuvre, a partial flat inverted circle.
It's a very complicated aircraft. Obviously we've got jet engines attached, and we've also got a smoke system. So we need 3... Many aerobatic aircraft can manoeuvre descending, but Richard, with his power, he can manoeuvre ascending. And there he enters the flat spin to make the trunk of the tree. No, it isn't.
Now, I'm sure a lot of people in the crowd will have seen a standard pitch special at some point giving an air.
And Eagle 2 on their left, furthest away from us. They're flying in at 120 knots, approximately 140 miles an hour, down to 100 foot above the ground. They approach the centre point of the airfield. You'll see the first manoeuvre of the display. It's Eagle 3, looks to pull a 270 wing over. This sees the aircraft pitched 45 degrees nose up, or rolling 90 degrees angle back, turning the aircraft 270 degrees away from you, the crowd. On the right now, you see the Eagle 1 and 2 pull up to a 180 wing over towards us, then exit to fly back towards the centre of the airfield. Here, after what is a very hard to maintain formation. You now also see the Wildcat pull up to conduct its own 180-degree wing over, before it routes back towards us. With the wing over being one of the most efficient ways for a helicopter to perform a U-turn as quickly as possible. Back over to the left now, you will see Eagle 1 and Eagle 2 pull up, and they'll be flying an even more dynamic wing over this time, looking to pull up to 60 degrees nose up, rather than 45 degrees the first time, demonstrating the remarkable manoeuvrability of what is incredibly heavy aircraft that weigh up to 8-10 tons. Back to your front now, you get the first close look at Eagle 3. Unique opportunity to see it close up for the first time. And now, ladies and gentlemen, special treat, a new manoeuvre for this year. Eagle 1 and Eagle 2 will fly the most complicated profile display, a mirrored 360-degree wing over. As before, the system team both aircraft, 60 degrees nose up, roll to 90 degrees angle back. However, now the pilots look to return the aircraft back over their shoulders, 360 degrees. Meanwhile, in depth, you'll see Eagle 3 with a 270 wing over before it moves out to the left. And shortly, you'll see the Wildcat enter a rapid climb. This is used operationally to climb through the small arm strength band, which shows the true power of its engines, each producing over 1,300 horsepower. Now, it's a great opportunity to grab a photo of all 3 aircraft in the same cabin frame for the first time. The Eagles will now do and off into the centre of the airfield. We Eagle 3 the Wildcat closest to you as they dive down. Having safely passed one another, Eagle 1 and 2 are now pulling up for what can also be known as tactically a return to target. Operationally, this manoeuvre can be employed to rapidly achieve height, turning aircraft to a fixed cruise. In the practical case, to then deploy 30mm cannon or 2.7-inch rockets onto a target. This is particularly useful in the low-level environment, where the enemy may attempt to ambush or take opportunistic shots at the Apaches as they thunder overhead en route to another mission. Here the Apaches would look to return fire rapidly, as quickly as possible, in order to neutralise that enemy threat. Heading into right now, Eagle 1 and 2, 5 or 2 centigrade mirrored wing over. Interestingly, this is now where the formation is split into 3 individual aircraft, with each 2 exiting the wing over early and consequently into his lane. Adding new complexity to the display demonstrates the coordination and cooperation of each of the crew as they continue to conduct and fly their own manoeuvres, whilst always ensuring they're aware of Doctor, as shown here today. It can be fitted with the M3M50 cow onto the side of the aircraft with an effective range of 2 Ks. This allows it to defend itself, but also conduct escort and forward protection. The Cosford frame can also be fitted with a winch mounted at the top of it, allowing the Wildcat to be used to insert troops rapidly into hostile locations. There's also the MX-15 camera fitted on the nose of the aircraft, capable of thermal imaging out to 8 Ks. This can be used day and night. Stability, height, and the Wildcat's solid lasers, these are the established targets. That's the Apache teaming, bringing even more reality to that. However, the two Apaches nearby, the crew are also qualified for coordinating all their Apache space. It's largely air conditions rather than on target. Right now, to the left, and they'll be manoeuvring quickly at low speeds. Again, great opportunity to see the Apache now also have one. AH-64 was an attack helicopter by trade. Crews are able to select multiple variants of this missile, anti-tank, anti-personnel. Blue Eagle 1 was flown today by Major Rob McRae, Major Bridge Najar. Blue Eagle 2 was flown by Mr. Jim Treher, one of our ex-military Apache instructors, now employed by Boeing as a civilians instructor at 7th Regiment, and in the front seat for it, Captain Alf Roberts. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the 2026 Army Air Corps display team. It's not just the crews who get the aircraft in, it's every member of the 1st Aviation Brigade, the UK's only fighting aviation brigade. The team would also like to thank all our ground crew and engineers for helping this to be possible. Finally, thanks goes to you, the general public, along with all our families and friends for their constant support. Please find us on Instagram at Army Air Corps _ display team. Follow us for the full future programme and any photos you have of today. Any further questions about what you've seen or you wish to come and chat, please do find us at our static display as well. Thanks very much, Cosford. Have a great afternoon.
So we're just listening in to air traffic control and looking at our various sensors that we have where the aircraft is in the vicinity. The slot he has is just a couple of minutes away, so he'll be just preparing himself. So make sure you have your children close at hand. From the right, Royal Air Force Typhoon. maneuver to perform, but now Tom's pulling the aircraft round. The G increases as he comes onto what we call the B axis, directly in front of you. Tom now accelerating the aircraft up to around about 500 miles an hour, 500 feet. He calls this the Reuben manoeuvre. Once again, one of those dairy rolls to reposition. They does the dual dairy, very famous test pilot and display pilots from the 1950s, where you roll the aircraft in one direction but turn in the other. So here's Tom pushing the aircraft round, hanging in his straps, minus 3G, very uncomfortable. Usually that manoeuvre to see a little bit of fuel just venting from the tail fin as you saw there. It's perfectly normal. Upping the speed again. Just below 600 miles per hour. Watch for the roll at ground centre, then holding the aircraft inverted. He's going to fly another barrel roll directly at you before going into what we call a maximum rate turn. The idea being to turn the aircraft through a full 360 degrees in as little distance as possible. So once again, Tom opening those throttles up even further, just below 700 miles per hour on this pass, as he goes into a high speed double aileron roll. But just listen now how that sound has decreased. We've gone from 700 miles per hour all the way down Slow speed's so important in any aircraft, especially in an interceptor. Typhoons have been called upon to intercept what we call general aviation aircraft and also helicopters. So here the speed bleeds right off. We're down to 130, 140 knots here. With a bit of headwind, that will look even slower. Indeed, after that last pass, the aircraft just seems to be hanging in the air. Fully open from 130 knots back up to 700 knots for his last pass today. This is Flight Lieutenant Top Nation, the Royal Air Force Typhoon. Concept of stretching a Hercules has been around for quite a long time. Indeed, the Royal Air Force did it some years ago with their C1 and C3s. The point being that you sort of ran out of volume before you ran out of the amount you could lift. So the airframes frequently what we call bulked out. You could lift more weight, but the cabin was actually full. So it obviously wasn't quite as simple as this, but you basically cut the aircraft in half, added a fillet, sewed it back together again. These J-30 models built as stretched aircraft from new. Of course, that was a very famous conversion program the RAF undertook to create those Mark IIIs. Canada is one of the world's longest standing and largest Hercules operators. It's had 62 of all variants in its inventory over the years. They've still got some of the older H models, now with 424 Transport and Rescue Squadron, but 436 Transport Squadron, from which this aircraft comes, is by far the main Canadian Hercules operator. 426 Squadron carries out the training task. And these CC-130Js conduct all manner of missions. Transoceanic strategic airlift is one of them, but also, of course, tactical.
Are you going to go?
Second of the three flight pasts there from the Canadian Hercules, once again in the front left. The aircraft not operating out of Prestwick today, in fact pre-positioned to Birmingham International Airport before coming in for its performance.
Good job I didn't put it on fast forward. Or high shutter speed.
I wanted the A4, which is
It's incredible to believe that Hercules has been in service around the world since 1956. Adding that up, that's 70 years. Certainly one of those aircraft in the running to actually be in service for the full 100 years. They have a lot of legs in them yet. The design is still solid. You can switch things in, you can switch things out, but it's still a Hercules. Famous saying, you know, how do you replace a Hercules?
The last of its 3 runs, the Royal Canadian Air Force CC-130J Hercules.
I would want to I want to see. I don't want to be the lone kid.
Oh, Jen wants to do it, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
And it's nice to be able to say Royal Canadian Air Force again, because for many years, back into the late 60s, the Canadian Armed Forces were unified. It's since been separated off again as independent already. Hopefully that has whetted your appetite to go and see the C-130 we have on the ground. Purposely there for you to get up close and personal this aircraft from the Royal Netherlands Air and Space Force.
It was a blimp, like in distance it was off.
Now, I've already seen the anti-aircraft gunfire coming up, but early on in the war, aircraft weren't armed at all. Originally, aircraft were used to take photos of the enemy lines to try and see when troops could be moved on. But very quickly, it was decided that something had to be done to stop each other. Weapons ranged from pistols, to rifles, to hand grenades, until we finally reached machine guns.
Oh wait, there might be something.
Now, we've already referred to these men as boys a lot, and that's not out of disrespect. These boys had to learn how to fly at the same time as they were learning how to fight. Now, a lot of this came down to tactics. Was the case of that now classic World War I dogfight?
It was, in fact, the RAF's early experiences with this design for the ideal escort fighters to become available to the 8th Air Force. Here, though, we see 2 of them. The Republic P-47D Thunderbolt and an Australian-built version of the North American T-51D Mustang forming up on the B-17. On the B-17 was 25 missions. Crew had to complete 25 missions before any chance of going home. And 16%, that 1 in 6, was lost on that one raid.
insulating to protect them, and of course there was the ever-present threat of enemy action, whether in the form of flank or fighters. And even though the B-17 was an incredibly tough airframe, able to withstand tremendous amounts of battle damage, these so often proved fatal. The scale of things is also just phenomenal. I mean, we think there was a time during 1944 when 42 airfields in the UK were home to B-17s. Generally, the idea was there'd be up to 36 on an airfield. Just imagine an airfield with 36 of these. And for a standard raid, getting airborne, not just B-17s, but consolidated B-24 Liberators as well. And this, in large part, is what Sally B is all about, isn't it, as a flying memorial. The 8th Air Force flying from East Anglia suffered almost half of all the US Army Air Force's casualties of the war, including 26,000 men dead. Its bombers, including the B-17s, conducted more than 440,000 sorties and dropped nearly 700,000 tons of bombs. And this, above all, is the aircraft that salutes the men who made that effort possible. And talking of effort, the effort involved in keeping this aircraft airworthy in private hands by Ellie Sallingbow and her colleagues with B-17 preservation comes courtesy of the contributions made by private individuals. The Sally B Supporters Club underpins all of this with thousands of members worldwide, and it's a very, very worthwhile organisation to belong to. It certainly has helped sustain Ellie and the team's efforts in keeping this B-17 airworthy against the odds for now 51 years and counting. An amazing record. Commonwealth CA-18 Mustang Mark 21, because this is an Australian-built version of the B-51D. And then we have the first example of that kind of whistle. Hopefully, if you were in early enough, you heard the various reasons for that whistle.
It's about stalling it. Isn't it?
Mm. It's just tiny, so tiny, and I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't even like see clearly anyway.
It's fine.
They're setting up to perform coordinated pairs rollbacks from inside to outside formation.
So happy.
Down rollbacks.
They'd put it up on that, wouldn't you? Whoever's filming it up there would put it up there. Don't know if that's come out, but it's Red Arrow's heart.
What's the £4 that? gone now, aren't they?
Eh?
Clouds have all but gone now. Nearly high up. Could
Yeah.
have proper paragraph.
You're making it hard to follow.
Eh?
It's making it harder to follow.
Yeah.
I'm using the shapes of the clouds to follow them.
I've got lights on, which means there's someone coming towards them.
Probably coming in that way.
Yep.
Here they come.
My mate Stu just sang those guys, and they, whenever they went to where they're from, I'm like, oh, my friend.
Show me the step.
Yeah, past the
There's not a GT4.
yeah. There's no GT4s here, but we'll do this for Stephen. Step up from your Ranger. Left hand drive, mind. Oh, well, can't have everything. Next chair's Monaco. Nicer than my dad's X chairs. Is there any GT4s?
No.
Price of 300, two a penny back home, aren't they? Oh, the Monaco one. It's an XJS.
Is it?
It says on it it's XJS. It's an XJS Monaco. It's nicer than my dad's old one. No, my dad's old one was bloody ugly.
In the plane with this long.
All cracked. Yeah.
It's about the respawn somewhere.
Hmm.
It's all instrumental. So who wants to dance? All these fellas like that. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the ladies. We got our first dancer. Sit right down and write myself a letter and make believe it came from you. Gonna write the words so sweet, they're gonna knock me off my feet. Kisses on the bottom, I'll be glad I got them. Gonna smile and say I hope you're feeling better. Rose will love the way you do. That wrinkles your nose. It touches my foolish heart. Lovely, never ever change. Keep that breath. The vocals, so I'm going to sing a little song from my band, or one of the bands I work with, and I hope you like it. It's a little song, if I can find it now, called Nobody Till Somebody Loves You. A little song from Nat King Cole. Here we go. Well, nobody till somebody cares. You may be the king, you might possess stars shine above. But I know until somebody loves you. So find yourself somebody to love. You know what I'm saying? Yes, it's where you live. I timed that right.
Westland Scout.
Fairground as well, I didn't notice that.
Sorry?
Fairground as well, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it was on the left of us when we came in.
Must be a Jaguar squadron then.
Harriers. I've got pause with that one.
Got another one on.
My second favourite plane.
This is better than that.
My favourite fighter plane. All time.
Fly back.
She's beautiful.
There's an engine in it. That one's
They're both beautiful. I just did that.
Surely had to be as part of the Afghanistan evacuation. The evacuation from Kabul in 2021. 3 Hercules, 4 Atlas, 5 Voyagers and 7 C-17s were involved. More than 15,000 people were airlifted out by the RAF, and 1 C-17 sortie out of the Afghan capital that year carried more people than any other RAF flight in history.
Speaker in the way.
It's departing. Once again, look how good that colour scheme is against that backdrop of slightly rolling hills and the various types of trees. Lieutenant Commander Chris Gayson, Lieutenant Lily May Fisher, Petty Officer Owen Green. With service comes sacrifice. It always has, it always will. Swordfish came to dominate us across.
Oh.
But the Swordfish continued to have a key role protecting the Atlantic and Arctic supply convoys that were so vital during World War II. They could fly not just from conventional carriers or smaller escort carriers, but also from the so-called back ships, merchant aircraft carriers, which were working oilers or grain vessels with a small flight deck welded on top. Again, in that, the Swordfish's flying characteristics were so important, and they still had 4 hours of endurance when operating from those vessels. Swordfish in total sank 21 German U-boats during wartime, mainly escorting the Arctic convoys to North Russia. Cosford Air Show at Norway as late as January 1945, and there is still an operational squadron at Cosford, acting a 3-6 squadron as late as August that year when World War II concluded in the Pacific. And the D-Day invasion strike from this Swordfish 1 from the Navy Wings Heritage Flight at RNASO will still recall the fact that Swordfish had a role on and around D-Day laying smoke screens, flying nights, anti-U-boat patrols and anti-U-boat patrols to boot.
Back.
When it comes to helping recall the heroism of the 3,000 of the war
Second World War. Formation we saw earlier, and Lieutenant George Corey of the Royal Navy is here to tell you all about it. George. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Cosford. The Black Cats have been a popular fixture on the air show circuit since 2001 when they're known as the Link Pair. In 2004, the team was given more support from the Royal Navy and now they have a helicopter and adopted the name of the Black Cats. Here's the look at the sky. Approaching the ground, pressure at 100 feet and 130 knots. Please welcome the Royal Navy Black Cats. And Lieutenant Ollie Mendel. The Wildcat H3 Mark II is the Royal Navy's shipborne helicopter, operating from frigates, destroyers and aircraft carriers. It gives command of fast, practical and heavily armed aircraft that can find, track and strike strength. Has a more powerful engine and allows it to be flown in extreme weather conditions all year round. And gives aircraft a top speed of 159 knots. Drones, spot aircraft, uncrewed surface vessels can appear quickly and threaten ships at range, but the Wildcat is built to win that fight. The crew can search, identify and track targets by day or night with a raft of high-end sensors before engaging a threat with missiles, 50 cal guns, rotary snipers or torpedoes. Engineers at work. The team is made up of volunteers from 825 Naval Air Squadron, commissioned in October 2014, and the wider Maritime Aviation Instruct Force, based on the Royal Naval Air Station Guildford in Somerset. Are responsible for training all Wildcat pilots and observers, as well as the engineers who end up on board Royal Navy frigates and destroyers around the world. Air Squadron A-15 Wildcat cruisers and headquarters equipment there to ensure that all aircrew, engineers and aircraft and supporting equipment are ready to support the Royal Navy both at home and anywhere in the world. today is the Head Commander Steve Fraser. He joined the Royal Navy in 2001 and deployed operations to the Mediterranean, Baltic, Middle East, Far East, Caribbean, South America and the South Atlantic with 815 Naval Air Squadron in a maritime strike role. He converted to Wildcat in 2017 where he had held both frontline and instructional roles at 815 and 825 Naval Air Squadron, including a period when he served as second command flying at Armitage Everton. With A-15 Naval Air Squadron. Worldwide on sea Harriers with 801 and 800 Naval Air Squadron before moving to instructional roles and later deploying on peace operations in Afghanistan. He is the 85 lead engineer for the Royal Navy Master Captain Helicopter Fleet Team. With him and volunteer engineers of 85. Navy Helicopter Display Team would like to personally thank everyone for their continued support throughout the 2026 season. We would also like to give our thanks to our incredible engineers who keep us flying and are currently on the Black Cat tour engaged with all of you. Please pop down and speak to them to find out more about the work of the Royal Navy. Thank you very much for being here, George. A really nice contribution there from the Navy to our flying display today. Well, we're going to be bringing the Wildcat Black Cat into land. We're then going to be getting the sausage turned around very quickly to the car before we move on with the show and our next display open. And it's rather appropriate we'll be seeing the sausage getting airborne in advance of this display item because they both to some extent represent the aircraft with which the UK's air arms went to war in 1939, 1940, but were perhaps not ideally suited to the task in that era. The aircraft we're about to see displaying, which is one of our international civilian visitors to this year's Cosford Air Show, is also here for another reason. Because on the 12th of July 1940, at the height of the Battle of Britain, the first Czechoslovak depot was formed here at RAF Cosford. In protest, Czechoslovak airmen entering the RAF, testing their skills, giving them English language tuition, and if suitable postings straight onto their squadrons. If they weren't, they were given further training. The first group who arrived here that summer in 1940 contained 11 officers and 320 other ranks who'd recently been evacuated from France, some of them still wearing their French Air Force uniforms. Soon more arrived, some of whom had fought in Poland, been taken prisoner in Russia, released and come to the UK via Syria and Palestine, or Turkey and Egypt. The Cosford depot was visited in August 1940 by Dr. Edvard Bennett.
president of the Czechoslovak government in exile in London. The depot went on to move elsewhere and it returned to Cosford in 1944. And it was a major part of the Czechoslovak contribution to the wartime RAF. It took in 3 fighter squadrons and came into service. 26 squadrons across coastal and bomber commands had aircraft of this type on frontline duty when war broke out in September 1939. The defensive armament came in the form of really are brought into such sharp focus when you see just what a slow-flying aircraft this Mark I Anson with a pair of 350 horsepower Armstrong Siddeley Cheetah 9 engines is. Number 500 Squadron, based at Deckley, made the first attack against a U-boat by the RAF of World War II on the to provide reassurance to the troops awaiting evacuation. A section of 3 Mark I Ansons like this, led by Pilot Officer Pete Peters, was performing one of those patrols when 9 Messerschmitt TF-109 fighters pounced upon them. Pete Peters slowed his Anson, the Messerschmitts overshot, and 2 of them were shot down by the Anson's guns, though one of Peters was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross and his 4 crew members the Distinguished Flying Medal. The Anson was obsolete on the front line when aircraft like the Lockheed Hudson and the Armstrong Whitworth Whitley arrived. But still it was superior to some of its intended replacements. It was more agile, something we've seen demonstrated really well here. The crew had better visibility from it. So for example, when number 6 Air Squadron received the pretty terrible Blackburn photo, pretty soon it had got its Anson back again, much to the pleasure of the crew. Through the rest of the war, the Anson was much used as a light transport aircraft, including the ferry aeroplanes, the air transport auxiliary, as a crew trainer for particularly bombers and other mighty engines. This time, especially with the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan, and they carried on serving as light transport and trainers in the post-war RAF. But this one is the only airworthy example of the Ansons that first went to war, the Mark I. The Avro plant at near Leeds in 1943. It went on to serve with the Royal Australian Air Force. It was then sold into civilian hands. It carried on flying with various different owners, went into preservation. But it was a gentleman in New Zealand named Bill Reid who ensured the site that we see before us today. He bought the aircraft, he had it restored by himself and a team of dedicated helpers on New Zealand's South Island, his farm in Wakefield. It made its first flight from Nelson Airport on the 17th of July 2012. The restoration that Bill and his friends undertook was absolutely exquisite. We decided to finish it as an anthem of number 206 Squadron, a coastal command unit operated from Birchwood Union in Norfolk on the 5th of September 1939. The aircraft it represents was shot down over the sea by a Luftwaffe Transport 115 float plane, becoming the first RAF combat loss of the war. The crew of the float plane spotted the survivors from the Anson in the water and landed to try and pick them up. And the full crew, only pilot officer L.H. Edwards survived, becoming the first RAF prisoner of war of the 1939-45 conflict. When Bill Reed put it up for sale, it was bought by RAF Station Czechoslovakia, based at Podhorany Uronova, southeast of Prague, in the Czech Republic, which has a very special mission to pay tribute to the Czechoslovak contribution to the wartime RAF. It already has a fleet of Tiger Moths and the Mild Magister trainer. The aircraft was shipped over to Europe. It was reassembled, reflown in the facilities of a company called Cosford Air Show at Cosford in Belgium at the end of May last year. And it's a very suitable acquisition for RAF Station Czechoslovakia. Many Czechoslovak pilots and aircrew trained on its Ansons. Number 311 Squadron, the only Czechoslovak bomber squadron in the wartime RAF, initially had Ansons in one of its flights for training. Some Czechoslovaks flew them on anti-submarine patrols with Coastal Command. The early post-war Czechoslovak Air Force flew Ansons as light transports. It's gone to a very good home indeed with RAF Station Czechoslovakia. What a superb aeroplane, Andy. Gloriously flown by Richard Cranbrook. Not quite as right-hand end of the airfield as the Chinook takes off. There's a juxtaposition. The early war RAF again. The Anson has taxied back to its parking spot. Another aircraft so representative of that early war period Andy was just referring to, taxiing out beyond. And just as with the sound of those two Armstrong Siddeley Cheetahs with the Anson, this again, one of the sounds of RAF air power of the late 1930s, early 40s, the Bristol Mercury. And what we're going to see here, the Western Lysander, very much a short takeoff aircraft. We tend to use the word STOL, you remember from the Bronco. That aircraft was built to take off and land on in very short distances. But I think the Lysander can, in the right weather conditions, all that for a very specific role that we'll come on to in a moment. With the aircraft able to operate out of very small areas. The aircraft appears not being able to initially agents from fields throughout France. These operations were flown at night around the full moon. Navigation by map encompassed a very scary mission to undertake. If you're wondering about the name Lysander, well, there's time at which the Lysander is named after the ancient Greek Admiral Lysander, who was an army corporation aircraft after a mission on his rival mission. This is aircraft that one way or another is connected to it in many roles. That's very better. Demonstrated. Nonetheless, Lysander was the fourth one of the last RAF aeroplane to reach France first. So here you see the aircraft returning to the left-hand side, as they mentioned, it did actually shoot down a Luftwaffe bomber. You can see that actually that takes the video back. They're the kind of three-line coverage to around the area. There is the opposite to the aircraft. Automatic wing slats rocket slats. Now the slats come out the front of the into the wing, and the slats are the trailing thing, and that basically improves the surface of the wing. Very close, and it's got a couple of hundred yards from everything on the side, and that's what this aircraft has. And they would deploy it automatically. Like there's one of the pilots saying that the aircraft exactly come down like a lift. It will come down like an escalator. You just pull the throttle back, point it down, and the flash of the factory point, and land it down about 35 feet. Very impressive indeed. First entered service in June 1938. Initially used for message dropping. Now there's another role we don't talk of very often. Sometimes the only way you could carry a message report on something was actually to hand or wing deliver it, let's say. Also used for artillery spotting, and as Ben says, when war broke out, squadrons deployed to France almost immediately. From the air, by picking it up by other means on ground radar, for example. But it really was those missions on behalf of the Special Operations Executive that defined the Lysander's place in RAF history. They completed more than 400 such operations, fitted with an access ladder and a long-range fuel tank, dropping agents into and recovering them from Nazi-occupied Europe. Often the strips they were flying into that Andy was describing would be lit by either just the moonlight, maybe, hopefully, some torches the French resistance had put there, and they would go out in all weathers. The Lysanders of the two squadrons that supported the SOE, numbers 138 and 161 squadrons, flew in weather that grounded everything else in the RAF. And in certain circumstances, the agent that's being deployed This aircraft took 15 years for the Aircraft Restoration Company at Duxford to restore. It flew again in August 2018, finished in its original wartime colours. And it's one of two ex-number 225 Squadron Lysanders that survives. The other one, which was restored here at Cosford, is in the RAF Museum. When the aircraft flew again after the restoration, that was the first time it had been airborne for 74 years. How fantastic. The Aircraft Restoration Company has done a lot of research into the crews that flew this aeroplane. One of its pilots went on to receive the Air Force Cross and a posthumous Distinguished Flying Cross. Another was awarded a posthumous Victoria Cross.
You have to wait back with the aircraft.
cannon by the looks.
The Land Rover, is it?
So the Bouchon dates back to 1943 when the Spanish government agreed a licensed production
Imagine if you
with
was under there.
Messerschmitt for 200 109Gs, the Gustav version. And a total of 25 dismantled airframes were sent to Spain as a package aircraft throughout the Second World War. But this is powered by the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, the same engine that was in the Hurricane, the Spitfire, the Lancaster, and so on. With a Rolls-Royce Merlin, first flew 29th of March 1954, also with a UK-sourced four-bladed propeller. But this engine had... Yes, Bouchon often gets thought of as the movie Messerschmitt, doesn't it? But you're right to highlight its role in the Spanish Air Force after all. This was a really important combat aircraft in its own right. They flew in Spanish West Africa where Moroccan insurgents and other rebels were threatening Spanish territory and capturing some of it. They provided bomber escorts and parachute dropping aircraft escorts. They also conducted their own strafing and rocket attacks. In fact, the whole fleet of the Bouchons in the Spanish Air Force were engaged in that campaign before there was a ceasefire. One squadron of them later flew along with T-6 Texans in policing missions over the Sahara, including counterinsurgency flying. But their monthly service, it was the forthcoming Battle of Britain film that perhaps the Bouchon is most well known for. Hamish McCaddy putting together his Air Force almost, the amazing fleet of aircraft that were needed to make that film. What an epic film it was. It still stands the test of time in many respects, but going back to 1968, that's phenomenal. The film, not all of it flying admittedly. Some changes were made, the wingtips squared off, struts added, dummy machine guns fitted to more visually represent the Messerschmitt of the Battle of Britain, which was the 109E Emile version. Filming initially in Spain, if you know the film very well, the opening sequences in the UK does look a little bit dry. Northern Europe looks like it's enjoying a very hot summer. But of course later they did come over to the UK, largely out of Duxford. They did, this was part of the drive, and something was significantly held up. One of the reasons the film ran so over budget, the weather in the summer of '68 was terrible. The stories of the filming are legion, not least involving the four pilots from the then Confederate Air Force, which had bought four of the aircraft. I could go on all day about that. Let alone the hangar story. Yes, yes. And this was just the start of these aircraft's career on the big screen. Indeed, and been in so many films. Memphis Belle, of course, famously. Quite recently, I think the SAS television series, Heroes as well. This very particular aircraft, and this one flew in the Dunkirk. And not this one, but a piece of cake as well. I remember the CDs in there. Indeed, and one of my favourite examples of the Bouchon on film was it's now running in from the left, and the commentator for the final item of the day is Flight Lieutenant Sean Ahern. Sean, welcome.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Cosford. I hope you're ready for a rip-roaring, blade-slapping headline act of the day with the 2026 RAF Chinook Roll Demonstration. My name is Flight Lieutenant Sean Ahern, manager of the Chinook Roll Demo Team, and I'll be your host as we celebrate this capable, battle-proven aircraft, which this year celebrates 45 years of continuous service with the Royal Air Force. Joining us for this display is Ted Coningsby, everyone's favourite air-aware bear, who is live streaming today. So join us on the socials for his second CH-47 roll demonstration flight. Today we're proud to work with Joint Helicopter Support Squadron, JHSS, who stand ready to deploy anywhere in the world to support UK helicopter operations. Also joining the team this year is 7 Para Royal Horse Artillery. As part of the Army's 16 Air Assault Brigade, 7 Para provide elite air mobile artillery support to the UK's paratrooper capability. You can now see the Chinook Mark 6 Alpha approaching from crowd left. Underslung beneath the aircraft is a 105mm L118 light gun and a Pinsgauer lap gun tractor, occupying 2 of the aircraft's 3 external cargo hooks. With a combined weight of 5 tons, this constitutes less than half of the aircraft's maximum payload, which can comprise a variety of configurations, including ISO containers, armored vehicles, or even every aircraft in-air armed air force display team. Our control today is Royal Demo Captain Matt Worley, better known as Worley to his friends, both of whom are here today. In co-pilot seat is Flight Attendant Sam Sawyer. Sam's been making squadron in 2023 and has since honed his flying skills around the world. Sam is a full commission qualified Chinook captain, but will need to marshal all his skills as he helps Worley take the aircraft to its limits today. Taking command of the aircraft's positioning as they approach the landing site is Sergeant Stretch Armstrong, with prior characteristics as a reservist in the RAF regiment and as an air operations officer. Stretch took the position call of flying, joining 18 squadron as a qualified crewman in 2023. The crew must balance speed with smooth handling to get the gun safely and accurately into position. Operating the Chinook efficiently requires all 4 members of the crew to work together seamlessly as the rear crew marshal the aircraft precisely and efficiently into position over the intercom. This process requires trust, skill, and years of experience to perfect, as well as the ability to count backwards from 10, a high-function skill for a Chinook crewman. With the external loads now gone, the crew land on to release an internally loaded support equipment. On top of its impressive external loading capability, the Chinook's tandem rotor design gives it a large internal loading area. The Chinook's cabin can carry side-by-side buggies, Land Rovers, or even rigid inflatable boats, dispatched from out of sight and sound range to support Royal Marine and Special Boat Service raids. When speed is paramount, smaller vehicles like quad bikes, motorcycles, or even e-bikes can be off the ramp and on task in mere seconds. Internal loads must be securely restrained for the harshest manoeuvring at low altitudes, so releasing them quickly is an important skill for a Chinook crewman, enabling the aircraft to get away from the landing site and safely back on the move quickly. Having supplied the gun team with ammunition, our 7 Para quad bike will head to the crowd line to resupply you with some Royal Demo stash. Unload complete, Worley clears the landing site with a max performance takeoff, building speed as quickly as possible to minimise the threat of enemy fire. The Chinook's 2 powerful Honeywell engines and tandem rotor design enable it to climb or accelerate very quickly to a maximum speed of 160 knots or 185 miles per hour. He stays low to avoid detection by enemy sensors and to make it harder for conventional weapons to take an accurate shot at the aircraft. With the aircraft clear of landing site, the 7 Para team rapidly de-rig the gun and Pinsgauer in preparation for firing. Out to the left now, Worley will reposition the aircraft with a wing over. Chinook must be flown dynamically and aggressively very close to the ground, so mastering coordinated manoeuvres like this is vital to developing the skills required to maintain control of the aircraft in a threatening environment. Now let's do some blade flaps with a 360-degree flat turn. The agility and power of the Chinook make it a real pleasure to fly and enable it to perform well in high temperature or high altitude conditions, and to carry heavier protective kit. Prepared for combat, Chinook boasts a layer of ballistic armour up to the windows, a rear-facing M60 machine gun, and a pair of M134 miniguns, the full flight protection. Now Worley brings those weapons to bear in a dogphone profile. As the starboard gun reaches the end of its weapons arc, he brings the M60 on the ramp to bear on the target. Now a right turn to bring the miniguns back onto target. Getting the aircraft turned around quickly here is crucial. Every second out of arcs gives the enemy time to take stock and take aim. and Whirly races to get the port minigun on target, unleashing 3,000 rounds per minute from its rotating barrels with a sound almost as iconic as the Chinook itself. As the port minigun runs out of its arms, the M60 is put back on target. A veteran of the Vietnam War, the M60 makes up for its slower rate of fire with solid dependability. Now fully established on their firing point, the 7-power gun team will execute their fire mission. Has as little as 3 minutes to complete their mission and escape before enemy counter-battery fire can be brought to bear on them. Their ability to launch an attack rapidly and with deadly accuracy is what makes 7-power both survivable and ready for the modern battlefield. Once complete, they'll hook the gun to the Pinzgauer and egress the threat area molto pronto. Meanwhile, Whirly extends to crown right for another wingover to reposition the aircraft for the next manoeuvre, but not before checking the crew and aircraft for injuries or battle damage. Chinook is a remarkably resilient aircraft, able to defeat a range of heat-seeking missile threats with a multi-layered missile warning system and a cocktail of advanced flares. When the aircraft is hit, it's proven well able to soak up serious damage, including direct hits from rocket-propelled grenades. Now the crew approaches from crowd right for a nose-down quick stop, bringing the aircraft to a halt from cruising speed in just a few seconds with the helicopter equivalent of a handbrake turn. Whirly pulls back on the stick to commence deceleration before flicking the aircraft around the nose, presenting the flat side of the fuselage to the airflow and slowing the aircraft up quickly. Please share the love and give Cammy a big wave. For better or for worse, he can see you. As the #1 crewman at the rear of the aircraft, Cammy is responsible for defending the tail with the M60, monitoring of aircraft mechanical systems, maintaining lookout for enemy forces, and marshalling of external loads, as well as ensuring cargo, troops, or casualties in the cabin are effectively secured and ready for their next event. During an air assault, Cammy is on the first boots on the ground in the combat area as he leaves the ramp to direct the assault force onto target, ensuring they have the situational awareness required to seize the initiative. In Afghanistan, Chinook crewmen were regularly the first target Taliban militants would see on the ground, and their bravery contributed to mission success on numerous occasions. As a Hibernian football club fan, Cammy has already proven his bravery in the face of a determined and well-armed enemy. Excellent preparation for the modern battlefield. Now Whirly pulls to maximum power with a drawn climb. A manoeuvre first seen in the Bosnia conflict, it has no tactical application at all, but was used to show off the awesome power of the Chinook to cruise of other helicopter types. All of those aircraft are sadly now out of service, but the mighty Chinook continues to get the job done. Having climbed safely, if flamboyantly, out of the range of small arms fire, Whirly will bring the aircraft back down to crowd centre with a tactical descent. In low-tech threat environments, aircraft are safest either at high altitudes or down very low to the ground, where they're harder to see or to shoot at. Transitioning from high to low is a moment of maximum danger and must be flown as quickly as possible without overstressing the rotor system. Whirly maneuvers the aircraft in the descent to make himself a more difficult target. For real, this would involve numerous changes of direction at high angles of battle and can be a handful to control in hot or high conditions. Safely back at low level, Whirly prepares to reposition the aircraft once more for a running landing. Supporting Chinook operations, both at air shows and the Corps, is an expert cadre of RAF engineers who work day and night to keep these workhorses on task and on target, tackling everything from routine servicing to patching up battle damage and even conducting major repairs under enemy fire and in extreme environmental conditions. Chinook engineers are highly skilled and ready for anything. If the aircraft loses an engine to battle damage, Chinook has the performance to maintain flight and escape the threat area on the one remaining engine. But slowing the aircraft down to a hover requires a lot of power. The crew is trained to land on the armed wheels at speed like signaling aeroplanes, burning engines to get the aircraft safely onto the ground when heading outward is difficult. Whirly conserves airspeed for as long as he can, flaring the aircraft to cushion it onto the ground at a maximum speed of 60 knots or 70 miles per hour. Safely on the runway, Whirly uses the unique aerodynamic qualities of the Chinook to balance on its aft wheels. This technique can also be used to land on steep slopes or ledges where the rear of the aircraft is landed while the front end of the aircraft is still in flight. And now for another Chinook party trick, the reverse taxi and takeoff. A useful capability when space for parking is tight or when the aircraft's downwash threatens nearby vehicles or equipment. But mostly, we like to do it because we can. Much like reversing a car, the aircraft gets increasingly twitchy as speed builds, so smooth, calm handling is required to do this safely and efficiently. Ladies and gentlemen, to complete the 2026 Chinook roll demonstration, Whirly brings the aircraft up to crowd centre for a goodbye bow. He's been absolutely thrilled to show off the aircraft to you today, as have all of us from the Chinook Force, the HSS and Seven Power. Now he prepares to transition over the shoulder to depart and to finish the display programme for this year's Cosford Air Show. Folks, thanks very much for sticking it out to the bitter end with us today. You've been absolutely brilliant, and we have been the 2026 RAF Chinook Roll Demonstration Team. Have a safe journey home, and we look forward to evacuating you all from a war zone very soon.
Sean, thank you so much, and what a splendid way to bring to a close a brilliant...
What are you filming me for?
Did you have a good day?
Yeah, it's alright. So airplanes.
So airplanes.
Big bees.
We're in the bar. Took us half an hour to get out of the car park, and then an extra 8 minutes to get home from there.
Yeah.
I think we're all alone tonight.
No, Sunday down there.
Yeah, this is the bar of the hotel.
Not quite really.
Well, it's got the football on, so we thought we'd come straight in here, have a quick bite to eat and a drink while we watch the second half of the football. So, sorry, forgot to film it beforehand. We were hungry.
Starving.
We'd only had our dog all day, and we left here at 7.
Yeah.
Well, 7:30 we left. So
I
yeah,
see,
you had a pasty, I had a Danish. But yeah. So.
Is that alright?